San Juan, winter of 1958. In the early 50s, when San Juan first became a tourist town, an ex-jockey named El Urbanito built a bar at the patio behind his house on Calle O'Leary. He called it Al's Backyard and hung a sign above his doorway on the street with an arrow pointing between two ramshackle buildings to the patio and back. At first he served nothing but beer at 20 cents a bottle and rum at a dime a shot, or 15 cents with ice. Yeah, looking back, I wasn't aware of it then, what a special place it was, or a special time. When an ex-communist named Letterman came down from Florida to start the San Juan Daily News, Al's Backyard became the English language press club, because none of the drifters and the dreamers who came to work for Letterman's new paper could afford the high-priced New York bars, quote, that were springing up all over the city like a rash of neon toadstools. All manner of men came to work for the news, everything from wild young Turks who wanted to rip the world in half and start all over again, to tired, beard-bellied old hacks who wanted nothing more than to live out their days in peace before a bunch of lunatics ripped the world in half. They ran the whole gamut, from genuine talents and honest men to degenerates and hopeless losers who could barely write a postcard, loons and fugitives and dangerous drunks, a shoplifting Cuban who carried a gun in his armpit, a half-wit Mexican who molested small children, pimps and pederasts and human shankers of every description, most of them working just long enough to make the price of a few drinks and a plane ticket. Yeah, this was kind of a culture at the time. You know, the vagrant journalists, we'll talk about that later. There was no shortage of people to drink with in those days. They never lasted very long, but they kept coming. I call them vagrant journalists because no other term would be quite as valid. No two were alike. They were professionally deviant, but they had a few things in common. They depended, mostly from habit, on newspapers and magazines for the bulk of their income. Their lives were geared to long chances and sudden movement, and they claimed no allegiance to any flag and valued no currency but luck and good contacts. Puerto Rico was a backwater, and the Daily News was staffed mainly by ill-tempered, wandering rabble. They moved erratically on the winds of rumor and opportunity all over Europe, Latin America, and the Far East. Wherever there were English language newspapers, jumping from one to another, looking always for the big break, the crucial assignment, the rich heiress, or the fat job at the far end of the next plane ticket. In a sense, I was one of them, more competent than some and more stable than others. And in the years that I carried that ragged banner, I was seldom unemployed. Sometimes I worked for 3 newspapers at once. I wrote ad copy for new casinos and bowling alleys. I was a consultant for the cockfighting syndicate, an utterly corrupt high-end restaurant critic, a yachting photographer, and a routine victim of police brutality. It was a greedy life, and I was good at it. I made some interesting friends, had enough money to get around, and learned a lot about the world that I would never have learned in any other way. That's all the book was about, of course.
Definitely.
One more line. Like most of the others, I was a seeker, a mover, a malcontent, and at times a stupid hellraiser. I was never idle long enough to do much thinking, but I felt somehow that my instincts were right. I shared a vagrant optimism that some of us were making real progress, that we had taken an honest road, and that the best of us would inevitably make it over the top. At the same time, I shared a dark suspicion that the life we were leading was a lost cause, that we were all actors, getting ourselves along on a senseless odyssey. It was a tension between these two poles, a restless idealism on one hand and a sense of impending doom on the other that kept me going.
Nice.
That takes